Hello and welcome to part 76. In this video, we will try to understand queue with help of a real-time example. Let's consider a banking scenario. We have a bank and here we will have customer that will be coming to our bank. Okay, so there will be two stages in our bank. First, the customer will register itself. Okay, so first one is the registration and second one is to process the account. Okay, so there will be one employee that will be sitting here that will do the registration and another employee that will do the actual creation of the bank account. So let's suppose registration of account let's takes only 2 minutes. Okay, and processing the account takes around 1 hour. Okay, so what will happen in real time? Customers will be keep on coming. So we will have customer 1, customer 2. They will be keep coming and going to the registration, and this guy will do the registration within 2 minutes, and it will put those customer in a queue. All right, as and when customer will come, those will go inside the queue. And here this guy who will actually process the accounts, he will read through the queue and process the customers one by one. So whoever is coming first, he will process that, then the second one, and so on. So what we are doing here, we are trying to replicate a real-time scenario where the customer will be doing registration at one place and simultaneously one other guy will be doing the actual processing and creating the bank accounts. All right. So let's see how we can use queues in this kind of scenario. Let's open up the Visual Studio and first create two methods. First, that will do the registration. That will mimic the registration process, and the other one that will do the actual processing. Okay, so let's go to the Visual Studio. Okay, so I have opened up my Visual Studio and let's create the method that will do the registration. Let me say public static void register. Right, so what register method will do, it will ask the customer their name and it will add that customer to a queue. So let's first create a queue also. Let me create a queue, public static queue, and for simplicity let's create a queue of string type. So we will just add the customer names, and based on the customer names we will create the bank account. In the real time there will be some other fields also, like customer ID, customer salary, customer age. Those kind of fields will also be there in the real time, but for our example let's create a simple queue of string type and add the customer with their customer name in the queue. Okay, so let me call it customers like this, and what I will do, I will ask the question to the user. Once that is done, we will read the input from the user using console.readLine, right? And we'll capture that input in a string variable. Let's call it name. And once we have the name, we will just put this name in our queue. So we'll use customers.enqueue.name. So if you remember from the last video, we can use enqueue method to add elements in our queue. Okay, so this is our register method, and let's say to simulate the real-time behavior we can add a delay in this process. So let's say to register this we will take 2 seconds. Let me use thread.sleep. Okay guys, so if you don't know about this method thread.sleep, this can be used to add some simulated delay to your program. So this line will take 2 seconds to complete the execution because we have provided 2000 here and this takes milliseconds. So 2000 milliseconds means 2 seconds. So register process will take 2 seconds. Okay. Now what we need to do? we need to create one more method that will do the actual processing and create the bank account. Okay, so let's call it process. Okay, we can call it process customers also because we are processing customers, right? So what this guy will do, this will take the customer which is there in the queue, customer equal to customers dot dequeue. So we will take the first customer from the beginning of the queue, right? And once that is done, what we'll do, we'll print. And to again add some delay here, let's provide some delay of 10 seconds this time. Okay. So we'll take 10 seconds to process one customer. Now that is done. Now what we need to do, we need to call these two methods inside our main method, register and process customer, and we need to call them in parallel. Okay. Okay, so to call two methods in parallel, we have a parallel class. And guys, if you don't know about parallel class, don't worry. In the future videos, we will going to cover multi-threading and parallel concept also. For now, you can understand using parallel, we can invoke two methods parallelly. So I can use parallel dot invoke and I can pass my method names which I want to invoke parallelly. So I can say register and I will give the second method, that is process customers. Okay. So these two methods I want to invoke parallelly. So I have added these two here. Now if I run my program, let's see what will happen. You see, we got an error because queue was empty and we ran the process customers method. And when we try to dequeue the element, we received the invalid operation exception. So we cannot dequeue any element if the queue is empty. First, we need to add some elements, then only we can dequeue it. Okay, so avoid this. Let's do one thing. We will call process customers only if we have some data in this. So we'll say customer.count is greater than 0, then only go ahead and process this. If I run my program now, let's see what will happen. Now we are not getting any runtime exception. And see what will happen when I give my customer name here. Let's say Mark here. And you notice nothing is happening here. That is because we have invoked the program register. Okay. Then it asked for the customer name and then it enqueued the customer and then it went for the sleep for 2 seconds. But we have also invoked parallelly process customers also. So while we were entering the customer name, that time this code was already executed, correct? That's why we did not process this customer. To resolve this, what we can do, we can put inside this in infinite loop because we want to keep processing the elements till when the program is running. So we have put this in a while loop, right? And now let's try to run this program. Let me add Mark here. Now let's wait for some time. Let the process customer method to complete run. You can see Mark is processed, it's getting printed here. That is because every 10 seconds we are going into this loop. Every 10 seconds we are again checking if the customer count is greater than 0, then we are processing that customer. Okay, so now we are able to process one customer in this program, right? But in real case, the multiple customer will be coming simultaneously, right? So that time this registration should also be in a loop, correct? So let's do one thing. Let's put a while loop here, while. So we want to keep running this infinitely. And let's put this piece of code here. And for now, let's reduce this time to register the customer to half a second so that we can register multiple customer within our 10-second window. Let's see what will happen now. So it is asking me to enter the customer name. Let me add Mark. It again asking me, I will add Pam, John, Arm, hello. So I have added these customers, and you see now one by one we will be processing these customers. So as and when we are adding the elements in my list, those elements are getting processed in the same sequence, correct? So let's add some more now. Just add A, B, C, D, E. Let's see what will happen now. Again, A is processed because we are continuing, because we are executing this method in parallel, right? And this is under the while loop. So this code will be keep executing, and we will be keep processing the customer whichever is coming in the queue, right? So that's why you can see here A is processed, B is processed, C is processed. As and when we are getting the customers, we are processing them in the process customers method. So let me stop this because this is in while loop and it will never end. So I will just terminate my program like this. Okay guys, so this was a very simple program that we have created using queues. Here we have used register method to register our customers, and in the registration process we are not doing much. We are just asking the customer their name and we are adding that customer in the queue. And then the guy that will do the actual processing, that will actually go ahead and create the customers inside the banking system. This guy will read from the queue and it will do some processing, and to simulate the processing we have added 10 seconds delay, and once that processing is done we are printing that customer is processed, meaning that customer account is created. Okay guys, that's it for this video. In the next video we will understand what is a stack in C#.